Hello and welcome to a new edition of Andy's Chomping at the Bit. Glad to be back. I was hoping to be back yesterday, but ran into some technical difficulties. So here it is, almost a year and a half, a little over a year and a half later, finally back at it. So while I was gone, a lot of people had requested to my family, and I even got some of the messages relayed to me that they wanted me to discuss anger on an episode of Andy's Chomping at the Bit. So today that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to you about anger. And it's one of those topics where it easily could have been a 2 or 3 part little series of episodes. And there's so much to cover within that. So I'm going to basically give you, from my experience and my understanding, I'm going to give you a general overview of what I've gotten out of it. And I did spend, a little over 7 years in my early adult years. So late high school, early, in college. I sought a therapist for mental health purposes, which was great. But one of the things we focused on the most back then was dealing with emotions, how to address when you're angry, how to express it, how to handle it. And there are healthy ways. And I'm always learning. Everyone's always learning. That's the beautiful thing about ourselves. We always can get better, and we always got to work on it, or else we can get worse as well. So basically, let's start it off. Anger is a normal emotion. It is okay to be angry. The thing that we have to focus on would be how we handle it, how we express it. And like I said, I'm always working on it as well and getting better. So first off, the one thing that I learned fairly recently was the difference between reacting to something and responding to something. We often want to react when we're upset, when we're angry, primarily because our IQ drops. The more angry we get, the less rational we can think and process information. So when we react in anger, it often results in things like name calling. It turns into sometimes violent acts. Usually not well thought out responses. So it's in our best interest to respond instead of react. And the best way to do that is to pause. And so, like I said, there's several benefits for this action, responding and pausing to do it. One, our IQ is not going to drop as far if we are able to pull ourselves back a brief moment. And one of the things that I am always working on, but have come a long way in, is gaining self-awareness and where my breaking point is, where that tipping point with the anger is. It's a very good skill to work with and develop, and it doesn't happen overnight. I can tell you that right now. But the reason it's valuable is because when you're in the heat of a moment, say you're arguing about something or just a discussion and it's getting heated, it's very nice to know that tipping point so you can walk away. And when I say walk away, I don't mean walk away and never return, not an indefinite avoiding the topic. Oftentimes we have to address the topic, and the walking away is only there to cool off, to regain our composure, regain our thoughts in a calm, healthy way, in a way that we can start thinking rationally again. Like I said, let the anger subside, IQ can come back up, and you can have a rational conversation. But like I said, if you're just saying I got to calm down, and walking away and never addressing the topic again, well, that's not really dealing with anger. That's merely avoiding problems altogether. So I'm very good at that too from the past. So once again, always working on improving yourself. Um, but anyway, back to anger. Um, it's important um, to recompose, and in that time when you walk away, finding a healthy way to de-stress, to clear your mind, get yourself back into a level state. Uh, I believe that's very important. Um, Also, within when you pause, when you're because you don't always have to walk away. I mean, there's oftentimes you don't have that luxury, and oftentimes you don't need to if you just take a brief moment to think things out, and it doesn't have to take that long. Um, but something to think about when you do pause: do you have control of the matter? Um, there's a lot of things that we like to think we have control of that we actually don't. Um, One of those would be the weather. That's probably the most obvious one. If you have an event planned, it was supposed to be sunny skies, and all of a sudden it's raining and thunder showers. Well, we don't have control over that. I mean, it stinks. Yeah, you had something planned, um, but it's out of our control. No one else can control that. So remember, when you're angry, is it something you can, what can you do about it? So you can't control that. Also, we can't control other people as far as their behaviors, their thoughts, their feelings. A lot of parents are probably going to be like, well, what about kids? And they think they have control on their kids. Not necessarily. You can influence people. You have the ability to influence someone, but you cannot actually control someone. It's kind of it's kind of a scary thought for some parents, I suppose, but I don't know for sure. Um, but it's the reality. You don't have control over anyone other than yourself. So understanding that, by being angry, you're not going to change someone else, no matter how much you want to. Also, things we can't control. We can't control something that's already happened. We can address things, but we can't change them. So, for instance, this is a great one. I'll go with my past. I started using controlled substances back in 2017. I've been clean for almost 2 years now. It's coming up there. But there's nothing I can do about going back in time and changing that I used. It happened. There's nothing I can do about it. Near the end, I made some horrible choices that resulted in legal problems. I had to spend. That was one of the reasons that Andy's Chomping at the Bit came to a pause, because I turned myself in and faced the legal consequences for previous mistakes I had made, previous poor choices. And once again, there was nothing I could do about going back and erasing that. What had happened had happened. So I can't beat myself up over it. I had to learn to address that, and learn to deal with what I can control today. How do I behave? How do I respond today? So that's an example of something that's already happened we can't change. And then also when I'm angry and I pause, there's something I got to really consider, and that's thinking of the significance of what I'm upset about. The big picture. Is it, someone burnt my steak or whatever at a restaurant. Yeah, it kind of stinks, especially when you're paying for it. But in the grand scheme of things, is it really that big of a deal? And I know in the moment it is, you are paying for it, but automatically going off on someone over something real, in the grand scheme of things, so little. And it might have, like, you're kind of facing into the next part, the high and the wow, or the why and the how of the matter. Was it intentionally burned? Odds are no. Odds are it was an accident. It could be a new chef. He could have been busy. Whatever the case may be, it probably wasn't because they're out to get you. Very rarely is that the case, that it was intentionally done. They intentionally did this. So be mindful when you look at the how and the why of something. that's making you angry, and be realistic when you think out the how and the why. We often like to be the victim of it. The world's not out to get to us. Just being realistic. That's not how this world is. It's not. It's kind of that fine line. Where we're told that everyone, you're always thought about by someone. Everyone has value, which is true, 100% true. But it's also important to know the balance to that. Nobody is so important that everyone in the world is thinking about either destroying them or whatever. We're relevant, but not that relevant. So that conspiracy idea of everyone's out to get us, it's not true. So understand that when you're angry, and oftentimes you also got to remember, we're human. Everybody is human. We all make mistakes. Anyone who doesn't is making the mistake of lying to you. And so you got to keep that in mind. Human error is a common thing. Freak of nature is a common thing. Lack of communication is a monstrous thing that causes anger, from mistakes or whatever mishaps. Just be realistic with yourself. We all assume someone said something, or we all assume that we understood someone, and when we screw up, and then someone else screws up, and we assume that they understood when we told them initially. I think that's probably one of the biggest things when we get in arguments with people. We assume we understand their side. We assume that this or that's happening. We don't know what someone else is thinking, no matter how much we think we do. We don't understand what's in another person's mind. It's the reality. We go off of things we've seen in the past. We go off of various patterns, but we don't actually know. It's not always fun not knowing, but it's the reality. So you have to learn that people are human. We make mistakes. Can't beat yourself up over it. Another big thing I'd say when you're thinking it through, pick your battles. Is the argument worth it? Is the circumstance, event, is it worth being upset over? So let's go to the argument one, because that's a common thing that makes people angry. The thing that so one of the things I work on personally is I had to learn that when someone says something that is not accurate, whether it be, let's go with a hypothetical small one. Yesterday we had, let's say yesterday we had fish, and someone later on says, "Oh yeah, that was a great meal yesterday. We had sloppy joes." We didn't have sloppy joes. We had fish. But you don't have to argue that. It's one of those things. Pick your battles. Is it worth getting in an argument with someone or correcting someone over something? I'll put it simply, stupid. Is it really worth arguing over something that's pointless, irrelevant to the world? In my eyes, I feel it's irrelevant, at least. It's okay if someone says something wrong. You don't have to correct every single thing someone does wrong. It's a waste of energy. It's not helping anything. There are certain circumstances where obviously you do got to correct someone. But it's okay to let someone be wrong. And when you get into a debate of various issues with someone, it's okay for them to feel like they won. Let them win. Who cares? Not every issue has to have a winner or a loser. Not every issue has to be corrected. We don't have to be on the top of everything. Sometimes it's okay to just... This is a different type of walking away from the situation without intent of coming back. There's some battles just aren't worth being fought. So that's big, pick your battles. Lastly, and I would be really wrong if I didn't mention this, and it's important to know I'm not by any means claiming to be a professional at this. I'm not a professional. I'm literally giving you my take based on my experiences in life, my understanding of anger from personal experience, from being able to see a therapy, and also from while in treatment, having the opportunity to take cognitive behavioral treatment class. So I got a little bit out of all that. But the one big thing is when dealing with anger, bottling it up is not a good idea. And there's moments where we have to, we kind of have to put our foot in our mouth. We have to, we have to hold back, not say something in the moment, not express it in the moment. But don't do that forever. As soon as you're able to essentially find that healthy way of venting. I personally like the fact that I can go to family members and certain friends. Particularly, I go to my parents a lot on this one, and I'll get a hold of someone and be like, "Hey, just letting you know, it's nothing personal against you. I just have to vent about something real quick, and then I can move on. I just have, if you're okay with it, just let me say what I have to say." And so I'll say what was bothering me with whatever other issue was going on, whatever other person, and I say what bothered me, what was on my mind, and then I go, okay, just had to get it out there. And it's weird that just by saying it to someone else, not yelling at them. I mean, oftentimes it's a louder approach that I take. And sometimes I am yelling, but I'm not yelling at them, and I make sure they know that in advance, so they can understand I'm just venting. And afterwards, then I can go, and it's off my chest. I said what I have to say, and it lets me process it and move on a little bit easier. That's not the way for everyone. That's what's worked for me personally a lot. But I do know that if you don't vent in some way, if you try bottling it up and holding it in and not expressing it in any way, you end up taking it down on people that you don't want to take it down on. There's people that will get caught in the crossfire of your emotion, basically. So you'll say things or do things that you don't mean to say or do, and it's really not good for, it's not good for your friends and family as far as, relationship with them. Because oftentimes they're the ones that are closest are the ones that get hit the hardest. So it's important to know that, it's okay to express your emotion, as crazy as some people might think that is. I mean, some people like to be the macho guy. Well, you got to express it, and in a healthy way too. So I think that covers the basics. I was going to get into detail originally about how, from my experience approaching people and expressing, but I feel that is a much bigger topic than I should be covering. I also feel that's a topic that should be left to medical professionals to address. And I don't have any doctorate degree as far as medical. Actually, I don't have a doctorate degree at all. So if you want more information on that, I would advise seeing someone who has a degree in, at least in social work. It'd be great to have someone who has a master's or a doctorate in that matter to speak with if you want a more thorough understanding of that. But with that was my general understanding from my experiences with anger. So I hope everyone got something out of this. If you didn't, that's fine too. But it's good to be back. Just letting you know, this show was brought to you by Big Andy Media. It is my new business that I distribute all my media from, as far as music, podcasts, and soon to come animation. You can follow that at bigandymedia.com. The website's almost finished, but it still exists at this point. And you can follow Andy's Chomping at the Bit on YouTube, Facebook, and you can follow Big Andy Media on YouTube, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and soon to be more platforms. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I will talk to you guys again on Monday and Wednesday for the Daily Biscuit, and this time next Friday I'll actually have another Andy's Chomping at the Bit. Please let me know of any topics you would like me to discuss. I haven't set one yet for that. And with that, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for support. Thank you for sharing. And as always, have a great day. Stay clean.